If there was one thing I could fix that would help every family in Canada make the most of what they have, do you know what that would be? Hello, this is Kathy Waite, CEO and founder of Your Net Worth Manager. I work in Saskatchewan and across Canada, mostly specialising in retirement income for people. And many of you will know that I can go on for hours and hours about expensive active funds that don't achieve market returns. I hate own brand products that are sold when there's better things available, and don't get me going about sales pitches that are dressed up as financial planning. There's a multitude of sins in financial services, but I really believe there is one thing that could be done that would fix all this right now. Overnight, it would stop in an instant. And I'm embarrassed to say it's the one thing that will probably never happen in Canada, or not in my lifetime. Obama got really close in the USA with this for company pensions, but Trump is rapidly rolling back the rules on that there. What am I talking about? Making all advisors trustworthy. Make a best interest standard mandatory. Force big financial services companies to put the client's interests first. Sounds completely common sense, doesn't it? And I bet you even thought that was the rule right now. I moved here from England in 2004, and I was really shocked to find out some of what goes on. In the UK, Australia and New Zealand, they all have a best interest standard, but somehow in North America, our financial institutions are treating us as second rate. We only have a suitability standard. Do you know what? Donuts and candy are suitable food. They won't kill you, but it doesn't mean they're good for you every day, does it? Why would anyone settle for just suitable? Would you settle for suitable medical treatment? No, you want the best for your family. Suitability is actually a very low bar to clear. You know, thanks to great advertising, most people think their financial advisors work for them. They don't. They may be really nice people, but they work for a company whose corporate responsibility is to make money for shareholders. I don't actually have a problem with the profit-making part. I have a problem with holding yourself out as big caring corporation and Mr. Nice Guy whilst behind the curtain acting out a different agenda. If you don't believe me, watch the link at the bottom of this podcast when Ed Clark, former VP and CEO of TD Bank, that's pretty much a bank we've all heard of in Canada, says, business models create a culture. If you start a business model that says my clients are not really my clients, they are really counterparties I can make money off, then you should not be surprised you end up with a greed culture that doesn't do the right thing all the time. He was being interviewed about what went on in 2008. So talking about culture, do you know who enforces the rules for your investment advisor? It's self-regulation, often called SROs. Self-regulatory organisations make and enforce all the rules. The industry has organisations it runs itself to police itself. In an industry that has no legal requirement to put you first, we have self-regulation. Stop and think about that for a moment. What could possibly go wrong? In an industry that has no legal requirement to put you first, we have self-regulation. The fox guards the hen house. Professions such as doctors, lawyers, engineers and CPAs all self-police. But the difference is they have a fiduciary standard, which means they have to put you first. Doctors have the Hippocratic Oath. Financial services lets SROs who are funded by the industry police the industry. Does this sound like accountability to you? Now you might be thinking, they all seem so trustworthy. They have great titles. It doesn't matter if these staff are called wealth managers, VP of investments, all the titles that seem to scream, trust me, I'm a professional. They are, beneath it, sales reps. They work in a hit your target or hit the road workplace. I'm not saying all of these people are untrustworthy. In fact, many got into the industry to help people, but they work for the house. I remember at the casino, the house always wins. There's a good chance your advisor is a sincere person with integrity, but they've been trained to sell, and sell what will benefit the house first. The trouble is they work in a system that's way beyond their control, a tremendously powerful system that has huge incentives to focus on maximising profits above all else. Warren Buffett jokes, you never want to ask a barber whether you need a haircut. Investment and insurance salespeople are the barbers of the financial world. They are trained and incentivized to sell, regardless of whether you need what they are selling. This is not a criticism, it's a fact. If you're a shareholder in the company they represent, you'd be very pleased with them. After all, what do shareholders need? Bigger profits. What creates bigger profits? More fees, more sales. If there's a legally grey area these companies can exploit to generate the sales, they're very likely to do it because it's what they are incentivised to do. In the last year we've seen record fines, 20 million plus a time. It's been for double dipping on fees, selling the more expensive versions of products, and even online discount brokerages taking a fee for doing their work. But every time the fine has been less than the profit, which really is not much of a disincentive. Meanwhile, we've been conditioned to trust these brands. You need to look with more critical eyes, learn how to protect your family from a self-interested industry that has no legal responsibility to put you first. And I've seen firsthand how if you complain, they'll stonewall your complaint for months on end and then finally lawyer up to silence you. How's this for an idea? We should all be the shareholders they're making the money for, not the customers they're creaming it off. You have to understand the incentives of your advisor, or you're liable to discover you've done wonders for their future whilst potentially wrecking your own. Learn how to navigate the minefield. Who can you trust? Who works for you? Who legally has to put you first? Not who is a nice guy. Don't be persuaded by people you like, especially when they are sincere. To be successful in financial services, you have to be personable. Over 30 years I've learned that you could be very technically strong and well educated and starve. So remember, your broker is not your friend. Believe it or not, many companies have something called Project 100. If you can write a list of 100 people you know, you've got a job. You then sell to these friends and their friends, and this is why it's very difficult to consider that this friend, or friend of a friend, might not be putting your interests first. Unfortunately, thinking about something unpleasant or having to consider what you've been doing may be wrong is uncomfortable and time-consuming. Being busy is no excuse not to work this out. There are great people out there. The best financial advisors provide amazing value by helping you with everything from investing to taxes, insurance and holistic advice, and keep you motivated. They save you money and help you feel confident about your future. Salesmen in disguise erode your wealth and make sure you work longer and harder than you need to. Did you ever have the feeling someone wasn't telling you the whole truth? You can't quite put your finger on it, but definitely something isn't right. If you work with a fee-for-service planner who only represents you, then you know there's no hidden agenda. For money management, if your advising representative or portfolio managers are among the 4% of fiduciaries in Canada, you know you don't have to rely on your spidey senses because by law they have to put your interests first. Charging a flat fee or a percentage of assets removes all the conflicts of interest about being sold their employer or their dealer's products. So there you have it, my wish for Canadians, a fiduciary standard in financial services so you can trust your interests are being put first, not the shareholders. The assets you work so hard for work hard for you and your family and benefit you, not others. Thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, please like it in iTunes, please rate it for me, and send it on to a friend. If you've got some questions or some comments, I always love to hear your feedback. Send me an email and watch out for my next podcast.